January 17th, 1999, dawned like any other winter morning in Miami, Florida, until the sound of police sirens shattered the usual calm. Federal agents in tactical gear surrounded a modest suburban home, shouting orders through loudspeakers. Inside, a 15-year-old boy named Jonathan James was still asleep. By the time he roused himself, agents had already breached his bedroom door, demanding that he lie face down on the floor. Hours earlier, he had logged into NASA and Pentagon computers from his bedroom, using nothing more than a self-built laptop, a bag of chips, and an insatiable curiosity. Was this the work of a professional cybercriminal syndicate, or something more unexpected? The truth was even stranger. Months before that January morning, Jonathan had adopted the handle Comrade in underground hacking circles. To his parents and teachers, he was simply a quiet teenager, obsessed with computers and programming. His introduction to computing began at age 10, when his parents purchased a second-hand Pentium 3 desktop for him. Over countless late nights, he dismantled the machine, learning every circuit and component until he felt he could rebuild it blindfolded. When he turned 12, he began experimenting with Linux, writing scripts that automated minor tasks on his school's computer lab network. By age 14, he had cobbled together a home lab from discarded routers and switches, scavenged from thrift stores. Most evenings, you would find him hunched over his glowing monitor, wearing a t-shirt that read, "I void warranties," completely absorbed in code. One autumn night in 1998, while scanning random IP ranges for open ports, Jonathan stumbled upon a forgotten subdomain labeled backup.dtra.gov. Curious, he pinged it and discovered that no encryption or firewall protected the server. An astonishing oversight for a defense threat reduction agency contractor. His heart raced as he typed in a default FTP password and gained root access. Navigating directories, he realized this was not just any contractor server. Symbolic links hinted at connections to NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. Despite the gravity of what he'd found, he felt an irresistible pull deeper into the system. He downloaded roughly 200 megabytes of data, emails, executable files, and source code modules tied to life support software for the International Space Station. He did not intend to steal anything, he simply wanted a closer look. Once the files lived on his local machine, however, there was no turning back. Late in the evening of January 16th, Jonathan's snack of leftover pizza lay half-eaten on his desk. He decided to install a packet-sniffing tool on the contractor server, hoping to capture administrator credentials for other government systems. Within minutes, he had harvested login tokens for multiple Pentagon and NASA accounts. Driven by a mix of fear and fascination, he used those credentials to log into NASA's network directly. Flickers of green terminal text raced across his screen as he accessed source code modules responsible for maintaining the space station's life support systems. The implications of what he'd done only struck him after the files were in his possession. Still, instead of erasing his tracks immediately, he made a quick local copy, then executed commands to scrub the server's logs, masking his presence. But as Jonathan played with his newfound toys, hundreds of miles away at the Marshall Center in Huntsville, Alabama, engineers noticed something was wrong. Initial diagnostics suggested a routine hardware failure, but backup tapes yielded nothing. Panic spread through the data center when technicians realized the stolen code could jeopardize astronaut safety. Orders to escalate the incident reached the NASA Office of the Inspector General within hours. Simultaneously, across the country in Fort Meade, Maryland, the Defense Criminal Investigative Service and the FBI's Cyber Division detected unauthorized logins from a South Florida IP address. Alarm bells rang, and a joint task force formed to trace the breach. Analysts suspected a skilled foreign adversary or an organized crime group was behind the intrusion. Few could fathom that the perpetrator was a teenage boy in pajamas several states away. As Jonathan decided to finally go to bed, authorities completed their trace, and just hours later, FBI agents executed a search warrant at Jonathan's home. The young hacker awoke to the sound of flashbangs and shouted commands. Dazed and terrified, he stumbled out of bed as agents disconnected his monitor, keyboard, and external hard drives. He was handcuffed and led downstairs. He was transferred to a federal facility in Miami, where he learned he faced multiple counts: unauthorized access of a Department of Defense computer, theft of government property, and export of sensitive defense information. In the months that followed, Jonathan's case drew widespread media attention. Newspapers splashed headlines like, "Florida teen steals NASA code," while talk shows speculated about the security of U.S. defense networks. In court, prosecutors portrayed him as a dangerous hacker who could have endangered lives aboard the ISS. They emphasized the stolen life support code and the potential for foreign adversaries to exploit his access. Jonathan's defense attorney countered that the boy had no malicious intent and no ties to hostile nations. A psychiatric evaluation revealed that he exhibited traits consistent with high-functioning autism, an intense focus on technology, social awkwardness, and an inability to resist exploring systems left unsecured. On July 15, 1999, under a plea agreement, Jonathan pleaded guilty to 2 counts. The judge sentenced him to 9 months of house arrest, 2 years of probation, community service, and strict monitoring of his computer use. He was forbidden to participate in programming contests or attend hacker conferences. Jonathan's life transformed dramatically in the following years. Despite no conclusive evidence, he was continuously investigated for cybercrime. In early 2008, the relentless pressure took a severe toll. Friends noticed Jonathan withdrawing from social activities. He stopped answering calls, became withdrawn in class, and suffered panic attacks. Every email notification sent his heart racing with fear of an impending raid. On May 18, 2008, his roommate found him unresponsive in the shower. He had died by suicide, a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The note he left behind read, in part, "I have no faith in the justice system. Perhaps my actions today and this letter will send a stronger message to the public. Either way, I have lost control over this situation, and this is my only way to regain control," bringing a tragic end to Jonathan's story.